cultural institutions should provide the space and the opportunity for things to actually be talked about, not to actually define them, but to give them a space for them to be debated and to be defined by the communities that we serve. The stories are there.
Yeah.
We just need to start focusing on them a little bit more and start advocating for them, because these are the positive impacts that video games have on culture.
Welcome to Family Gamer TV. We're at the Te Papa Museum at the Games Master exhibit, and I'm with Tearikirangi Mamaku, and you're curator here for this exhibit, is that right?
I'm a producer here for the public events program for Game Masters at Te Papa.
So it seems like quite an unusual thing to have in a museum, a video game exhibition. Can you say a bit maybe how it came about and what's different about Game Masters?
The Australian Centre for the Moving Image, ACME, they specialise in exhibitions and experiences and cultural experiences like this. Give us an opportunity to actually reflect on what has occurred, what is occurring, and what the future also looks like in terms of video gaming.
And so the way you're presenting games here seems to be video games not just as a private experience but as a public experience. Could you maybe tell us a bit about that journey?
Yeah. The exhibition itself is a retrospective look at 40 years of gaming. And so when you first get in here, it's quite a linear experience. So it starts in the late 70s and the early 80s with the first of three segments, which is arcade heroes. And so you've got games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Robotron 2084, Defender. And so those ones were at the what's referred to as the golden age of video games. And so you have the grandmasters of grandmaster designers. The first segment features about a dozen arcade games, classic arcade titles,
complete in their original cabinets and presented much as they would have been seen in an arcade setting.
Yep.
So that's quite interesting how you're looking at not just the sort of the artifact of the video game itself, but the encounter an individual has with that game, which is obviously different and is affected by the setting in which they encounter it.
Yep.
Is that something which the exhibit is sort of bringing to the fore?
I believe so, and I think through personal experience or with the exhibition over the last 6 months anyway, it's for me it's largely about memory. It's largely about personal reflection, personal connection to different things. Like you have Pac-Man and you have any of those arcade games. And for anybody of my generation, anybody who's like in the 30s, it immediately brings up memories of arcade machines and fish and chip shops, arcade machines and parlours, smoky parlours, and so it just kind of like brings back that kind of like this whole nostalgic feeling about what video games were as an experience for you as a person. And so in the second segment, which is Game Changers, you feature a game for publishers and companies like Blizzard Entertainment, Nintendo, the Sonic team, TT Games, and so you just get this big massive explosion, this big massive economy of people, this industry that's like self-perpetuating in on itself to actually say, like, there are all of these opportunities going on right now.
So you're saying the exhibition is a success. Is there? How do you measure that? What's a sort of a successful outcome for someone who visits here? What do you hope that they take away with them?
Success, not heavily judged on numbers, but it's heavily judged. I believe it's heavily judged on personal experiences that they have here and personal connections that they actually make.
And is there a tension in having, obviously games are a commercial product that are designed largely to make money? Is there a tension in having that in a museum, a cultural space? How do you handle that?
I don't think so. I think what we do and what we really do focus on is the whole artistic imperative that games and games serve cultures and serve communities.
I like the idea of that game serving culture rather than serving the shareholder.
Rather than serving the shareholder, because on one hand we do have quite a lot of commercially successful games here, especially with World of Warcraft and StarCraft and even the Metal Gear Solids with Hideo Kojima. It really is about the significant learning outcomes that visitors can actually get and experience from being here. So if you take I believe if we shift the focus away from the commercial and towards the social benefits, then that's what it really is. In early March, we Te Papa hosted a 2-day symposium on video games. One of the sessions was focused on games in cultural spaces, so the public display of video games and how they actually think, it's like, you know, like their whole big question is like, are video games arts, and like does art kind of like fit the standard definition of video games? And like even that's a problematic, that you get yourself into a lot of problems when you actually start defining what art is and what art isn't.
Yeah.
So we created the opportunity, created the space, because here at Papa, it's cultural institutions, and we believe this quite strongly. Cultural institutions should provide the space and the opportunity for things to actually be talked about, not to actually define them, but to give them a space for them to actually be debated and to be defined by the communities that we serve, because we serve communities. We're a cultural institution that serves the New Zealand community. The stories are there.
Yeah.
We just need to start focusing on them a little bit more and start advocating for them, because these are the positive impacts that video games have on culture. Not the positive impacts that they can have on culture, because it's already been proven and they already work. We just need to start talking about them a little bit more.
Yeah. It's great to have a space like this where those stories, you know, can start to be told. So we're going to have a nose around and play some games. Thanks for showing us around. It's really good.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.